Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Picking Bones. My name is Eric Jones. I haven't done a normal video in a little bit because I have been out of town. But where I was Philadelphia, and I had the chance to go check out the Masonic Lodge. So what I have for you today is we're gonna go through a slideshow of some of the pictures I got because I took the tour of the uh, Philadelphia Grand Masonic Lodge. So I'll talk to you a bit about what the guy told me on the tour and just some of the symbolism I noticed that he didn't talk about. Uh, I asked him a few questions. It was interesting. Alright, so let me expand this. So when you first walk into the lodge, you are greeted by these two hermaphroditic. Oh, that's gonna be annoying if it's just gonna go by itself. Screw that. Alright, you're greeted by these hermaphroditic sphinx figures. Um, Clearly a man's face with tits. You see, like, androgyny and in general, the merging of opposites is something that we see consistently in occultism. Um, you can kind of see that with white and black as like the merging of light and darkness as well. There's a constant union of opposites. So here's outside, just looking up at the building, and then down below, and we have Franklin and Jefferson here, I believe. He's handing him a handkerchief. I don't really know the symbolism of that, but this is the Masonic Temple in Philadelphia. They've got all these pictures here of Solomon's Temple all over the wall, because so much of Masonry is wrapped around the symbolism of Solomon and his temple. Here's the white and black checkered floors, which you see all throughout the hallways of the Masonic Lodge, and in some of the rooms. Here's a bunch of identification cards from some of the different Masonic orders, the Order of Demolay in particular. Got some medals and a bunch of junk. This right here, underneath this one stained glass window, all the other, it's the only stained glass window in the room, and it's right in front of George Washington's Masonic apron. See some of the text there, General Washington's apron, and the Mason who gave the tour was a basic bitch Mason. He was he was like he was a master Mason, so he had gone through the 3 Blue Lodge degrees, but he was like, that's all I'm ever gonna do. I'm fine with that. That's all I want to do. So he didn't. He said that he didn't know a lot of the stuff about higher masonry. But he said that the Masonic aprons back in the day, Masons themselves would choose the symbolism that goes on to their apron, and these days it's more uniform, and you don't have quite as ornate symbolism, and it's generally not as customized as the old Masons things were. Lost the word. I was already talking about it. But anyway, this is kind of interesting because George Washington, assuming that's true, that he did pick out all the symbolism for this apron. Apron is the word I wanted. Assuming he picked out all the symbolism, he's used quite a bit here, which would imply that he was higher in knowledge and in his advancement of the lodge than I might have thought before. I still lean towards he wasn't a high-level occultist, not necessarily playing into everything the lodge was doing, but more interested in the revolutionary aspect. But I'm really not sure. It can be difficult to tell how involved some of these people were in the lodge. Continuing on. This is all just from a showroom that you get to stand in before the tour starts. So I took some pictures of some of this stuff. This display case has all sorts of Masonic symbolism. Here's a replica of Solomon's temple. Here are some of the symbols on the wall. Now you see there in the middle, what's commonly called the Star of David. Although I've never seen any historical evidence linking that symbol with David. I asked the the Mason, why is this symbol so prominent? Because this one is probably the most prominent symbol in the lodge. I saw it in many of the rooms. They repeat all sorts of symbolism, but this is probably the most common. And he told me that it was actually Solomon's star, and that's why they use it as one of their key symbols, because it's a reference to Solomon and his temple. I'm sure that there is more layered symbolism in that, but that was an interesting answer from him. He pointed out that this is not the Star of David. And here are some of the symbols on the ceiling. I don't recognize all of these. I couldn't tell you what's going on with that. A lot of ornate stuff all over this place. This building must have cost an absurd amount of money. Hey, look at that. I didn't even fully analyze all these photos, but look at this severed head. If you listen to my talk just yesterday with Recluse, this topic came up. There's this symbolism of the severed head, and it seems to go back to an Egyptian rite, is what Recluse said. But we also have that one of the ideas of what Baphomet was of the Knights Templar. What is that? It was the severed head of John the Baptist. I do not know exactly what the symbolism with the severed head is, though. We also have the torch, which is a classic symbol of occultism, of enlightenment. This is the floor. I just took pictures of all the floors and ceilings and walls throughout the place. This is all hand etched into the wall. This is plaster that has been carved. So it's ridiculously ornate. I don't remember the guy's name who did it, and I don't care. He was a Masonic asshole. And most of the lodge rooms have the same basic layout. You've got this kind of main section where the different leaders sit, and then it's all based on north, east, south, and west. So you've got I can't remember who sits where, but people sitting in different sections of the room that all has this representation about sun symbolism. The Mason himself told me this. It was all about the sun symbolism, all of their ritual. I noticed this symbol, and they had this a few places on the wall. I don't know what that one represents, but it stood out to me. I was curious about it. Maybe I will find it one day. So they have all sorts of artwork in this grand stairway, representing different important periods in history for Masonry. So you see some Egyptian stuff and some Greek stuff and the Renaissance era. There's me taking a picture. There's a very bad photo. I apologize. Here's some of the local regalia, kind of for some of the local lodges. Another one of the Masonic rooms. They all have this pedestal in the center of the room Many of them have 3 lights surrounding the pedestal. This room does not. That's the homie that gave the tour. Yeah, the willfully ignorant Brother Mason. Random symbolism. There's the phoenix. Phoenix shows up a lot. Actually, the American eagle is both an eagle and a phoenix, if you're unaware. You can look at the creation of the Great Seal and look at the early drawings of it and see that it was in fact a phoenix. This is looking down the stairs at the main hall. All of these portraits are former high-level Masons. I don't know what... maybe you have to be a grandmaster or something. I don't know what you have to do to get your portrait on the wall. Some close-ups of some of that other stuff. Here's another one of those little center altars in the room with those 3 lights surrounding it. And there's not one in one of the corners, and somebody asked about why that is, and he said it was it's about making a right angle with those 3 lights. There's a lot of geometria, symbolism, and whatnot in the Masonic lodges. I think those are the symbols of the zodiac in this room. Another one of the chairs for the officers. Various important Masons around this room. And each of the rooms has different themes. So this is the next room that we checked out, which was one of the more interesting rooms, which was obviously the Egyptian room. But they all have the same layout, with like the different chairs on the north, and I can't remember. One of the directions never has a chair, but it's something to do with the sun and how the sun rises and sets. Lots of symbolism in this room. This one was particularly loaded with symbols. You see some kind of runic carvings on the ceiling. It's another one of these. He pointed out that each of the philosophers along the walls here are holding different instruments of architects and builders. So this we've got the square and the compass and different symbols being held by these guys. As you can see, this Star of Solomon, I guess we'll call it, all around the lodge. And there's obviously more symbolism in each of these. Not going to do a deep dive on all of the symbolism in the lodge here, but you can see more of these guys with their instruments for building, for construction. These are some of the goddesses. More of the ceilings. Everything was incredibly ornate. This is a stained glass window that they had. Got a picture of some of the symbols up there. Got the sun, the moon, the all-seeing eye, the apron, some geometric symbols, the seal of Solomon. Yeah, really just absolutely everywhere that you see that seal of Solomon. Here's another one of the halls that was used for Masonic ceremony. He told me that I was wondering, why do they have so many of these same room, basically, just different versions of the same room, and I guess different Masonic lodges will come and meet in different rooms. That first room that I showed you is used by the higher level Masons, he said, and most of the rooms are used by the Blue Lodge, but that first room was used by the Scottish Rite and some of the higher branches within Freemasonry, for example. They had all of these alcoves empty purposely. Some of their phrases up above. Here they had this little right in the center there. You can see one of the leaves is missing, and they did that on purpose to represent imperfection. So that's another interesting thing that he pointed out. And then I saw this on the wall, the classic owl, which represents wisdom. The owl is used especially by the Illuminati, and we see it in the Bohemian Grove now. But it's a symbol for wisdom and for enlightenment. And all of these different groups tend to use the same sort of symbolism because philosophically they're all very close to one another. Took a picture. They had different states. Each one had its own little bust. Took a picture of my home state, Vermont. We got a cow for ours. I didn't really have time to look at all of them to see if there are any interesting ones. In this room, this was like the ballroom, I believe, or something. They had this giant freaking Ben Franklin. You can see like the kind of barrier post that they have down below and how tall that is, and just compare that to the Franklin. Like it was a huge statue. It was like one of the biggest things that they had in the lodge was this massive Ben Franklin. And we will be getting into Ben Franklin very soon in my ongoing series on the Masonic Foundations of America, because I really do think Franklin was the key occultist in America. He was really the guy leading the occult charge. Easily the most satanic and horrible of the founding fathers. He was a member of the Hellfire Club. And the only way that people try to justify the Hellfire Club is like that it was made to just like mock Christianity. They weren't actually doing anything satanic in there. It was only just to insult Christians. Like that's the best defense that I've heard of the Hellfire Club. But no, it was a horrible organization. I look forward to ripping Ben Franklin and his evil apart in coming videos. Here are some other famous Masons in stained glass. And we got back to the original room. The tour was coming to an end. They had some literature of like anti-Masonry stuff. I took some pictures of that. Got some chick tracks up there. Chick might not have all the best stuff, definitely not, but at least he's talking about this stuff, right? They had in their gift shop, if you want to get your baby a little future Freemason shirt, you want to pledge your child's life to Lucifer right away, you can do that. That one really pissed me off, actually, to see. It's like just disgusting, just absolutely vile. I hate Masonry. It is such a satanic shithole organization. We had this guy on the tour that was like, he was like an old Mason, and he was on the tour with us, and he was just like, isn't it great? Isn't this all wonderful? He was just in awe the whole time. He'd seen all this shit before. We're still like in awe of it, like it's something amazing. No, it's just satanic bro. It's purely satanic. All this symbolism, it represents evil. Like, yeah. And back to the hermaphroditic sphinxes. I didn't notice these until I left the lodge. Kind of walked in. I was like, "Hey, do you mind if I browse your library?" They're like, "Yep, you can't do that." I'm like, "Oh, that's too bad." He's like, "You can go on a tour though." I was like, "All right, I'll do that, I guess." So I did not get to dig into the secret Masonic books to expose their secrets. Sorry, guys. Not this time. Maybe next time. So that's all. I just wanted to show you some of what I saw on that tour. Hopefully that was somewhat enjoyable for you. Uh, and like I said, I keep saying we got tons more coming for the Masonic Origins series. While I was on my trip, I went through this book, Manly P. Hall's The Secret Destiny of America. This is actually 2 books because it's also America's Assignment with Destiny. We're going to go through both of those. We're going to go through Francis Bacon's New Atlantis and so much more. Look forward to it, guys. We'll see you next time.